The United States of America recently introduced sanctions for the first time in response to circumvention of price restrictions on Russian oil. It is known that the new sanctions affected two shipping companies from the UAE and Turkey. Tankers owned by the firms carried Russian oil at prices exceeding the established threshold of $60 per barrel.
Unfortunately, we have recently seen that energy sanctions have gradually exhausted themselves, and we saw a number of violations. And finally, we see the first actions, so they should be assessed not in terms of the effect on the specific to Turkish companies that were held responsible, but in general a signal to the market that the United States has taken up this issue and will finally punish those who help Russia will continue to receive excess income from oil and petroleum products.
Russia will never again be considered a reliable supplier of resources. This is how U.S. Assistant Secretary of Energy Geoffrey Pyatt commented on the new sanctions of the United States. He also promised that the country's government will continue to take measures to reduce the flow of petrodollars into the Russian treasury.
In the case of our G7 partners in particular, we are also committed to work jointly to deny Russia future energy revenues and target in particular investments and projects growing Russia's future energy revenue. Geoffrey Pyatt, U.S. Assistant Secretary for Energy Resources. Those companies for which work with American and European, British, Canadian clients is significant in their income structure, they will most likely now be very cautious about concluding contracts for the supply of Russian raw materials and petroleum products.
And those who are not tied to the Western market will demand a higher price from Russia for their services, the expert notes. However, this will not solve the problem as a whole, because the Russian Federation still has the opportunity to replenish its budget from energy resources. However, this process can be complicated, for example, through an additional audit of certificates of the value of Russian oil to avoid under-evaluation of the price on paper and documents confirming the origin of raw materials. It is also proposed to limit the capabilities of the Russian shadow fleet.
It is quite possible to exclude the possibility of various companies, including the so-called shadow fleet, using all kinds of loopholes that remain under the sanctions imposed by the European Union and the British Commonwealth and the United States. And even closing these loopholes could significantly limit the profits the Russian Federation receives from trading energy resources in the world.
At the same time, Russia still receives excess profits from the sale of fossil fuels. The largest source of income is from the sale of liquefied gas. Unlike oil, liquefied gas exports are not subject to Western sanctions. Therefore, a number of countries, including European ones, purchase Russian liquefied natural gas.
If we are talking in general about the expansion of energy sanctions, then we still have unauthorized liquefied natural gas. Accordingly, we are also pushing for the European Union and the United States to more actively, at the level of an official ban, stop the import of liquefied gas from Russia.
Experts note that the Russian Federation has become a very inconvenient, unprofitable and unreliable business partner in the eyes of counteragents, in particular due to the close sanction guardianship of the Western states. Today, any cooperation with Moscow is associated with huge risks, which are increasing every day. Reported by Serhiy Kulas, Vasyl Panasiuk, UATV News.